What's up guys, Last Wicket here, I hope you're all well. So a couple of weeks back I went on a motorcycle trip with my best friend Kyle and I decided to shoot my very first travel video. This video is kind of a how-to or maybe how not to shoot a travel video on a motorcycle, combined with a 2018 What's in Lars's camera bag.
When you lie, I believe you. Beautiful in the art of treason. Beautiful in the
As this was a motorcycle trip, it was very important for me to capture footage on as well as off of the motorcycles. So my first choice for equipment on this trip was in no doubt going to be two GoPros, a Hero 3 and a Hero 4. Kept them both in their waterproof casings and mounted onto the chest strap plate to go onto mine and Kyle's chests during the travel. Now the only problem with mounting these on a chest rather than on a suction cup or a sticky onto the bike meant that at times I just caught bits of the bike tank, so a bit of rethinking and readjusting was key every day to make sure I got enough footage. The main problem I had with using a Hero 3 and a Hero 4 was the fact that when it came to colour grading in post, I found it very difficult to match them up, even though I got the settings on both cameras as close as I possibly could, because there isn't really as much adjustment on the Hero 3 than there is on the Hero 4. With every motorcycle trip I always take my power bank. It's very important to be charging up sat-navs, intercoms, phones, etc. But this time I needed it even more so, as I hadn't accounted for charging GoPros on the go and I simply didn't have enough batteries for them. So this became invaluable for charging up GoPros with every stop. Next, and one of the most important pieces of equipment in my camera bag for this trip, was my Canon 80D. The Canon 80D is just an awesome APS-C camera. I'm not going to tell you any more about it because there are hundreds of thousands of other videos on YouTube that you can watch about it. So just search for Canon 80D. Next up in my kit bag is my 18-55 Canon SDM kit lens, as seen on my 700D here. Now, once again, I'm not going to go into detail about it because there are hundreds of other videos, 10 times better than mine, that will go in depth on this lens. I decided to use this lens as the vlogging lens on my trip, as it's much lighter than the other lenses I have and it has a really nice quiet motor. For all my other B-roll and cinematic footage, I decided to take the lens I'm currently shooting this video on, which is my Sigma 18-35 art lens. This lens was just perfect to get those beautiful blurry backgrounds or bokeh effect, as it's a fast lens that will go down to 1.8. So most YouTubers, vloggers, whatever you want to call us, have a Gorilla Pod to mount the camera on so that it's nice and easy to be able to hold it when you're filming yourself. Now, I don't own a Gorilla Pod, so I had to think slightly outside of the box as to how I was going to do it on this trip. So I ended up using good old Miranda. This little tripod worked out really well in the end. Not only could I extend the tube inside and have it at a really nice distance from me to vlog with, but also, because it's technically a standard tripod with telescopic legs, it meant that when I was in positions where a Gorilla Pod would be awkward and not be able to get high enough, I could simply pull the legs out and all of a sudden I had a standard tripod. Okay, it was a little bit shaky when the Sigma lens was on just because of the weight, but apart from that, this has done me really well. And it just goes to show that you don't need to always have the expensive, fashionable equipment that everybody else has to do the job. Now, when it came to recording audio for this trip, it was a no-brainer, right? Everybody uses a Rode Videomic Pro. Once again, I don't own one and I simply couldn't afford one before the trip. So my good friend Harry from Next Level Chops said he'd lend me his. But just a few days before the trip, he told me that he needed it for a video himself, so I had to think of another way I was going to record audio. and the Olympus PCM recorder was my solution. This is obviously a stereo recorder, not a shotgun mic, so it was going to pick up a lot of noise and be heavily affected by the wind, so I had to also figure out a solution as to what I would put on it. Once again, not actually owning any dead cats myself, I had to have a little brainstorm with Harry, and we came up with this. This is a muff cop. It is actually a dampening cover for a bass drum beater. See, sometimes it helps to be drummers. This didn't completely cure the situation, but it certainly helped. And then of course I needed to mount it like a shotgun mic onto my camera, so I picked up a little ball joint to screw into it. I also didn't want to record the audio straight into this, so I got a little cable and ran it from the earpiece straight into the Canon 80D. The pro of having the Olympus recorder on a long jack lead straight into the 80D meant that when I did have the 80D on my tripod at a bit of a distance, I could bring the mic closer to me. It also meant when I had another subject with me, i.e. my best friend Kyle, and we were talking, it meant that it picked us both up a little bit better than say a shotgun mic would, as it's more directional. With all these extra little cables, along with chargers and bits and pieces, I added a nice little zip-up bag to slip into my camera case to hold it all nicely. As I was shooting outside a lot and inevitably going to be in the sunshine, I wanted to make sure that I didn't overexpose my image, but at the same time be able to keep my camera settings and not have to change them so much. So for both lenses, I took some variable ND filters. They are essentially sunglasses for your lenses. One of the most important accessories that I believe everybody should have in their kit bag are lens cloths. Believe me, I've been in situations where I've ended up with a smudge or a smear on a lens and I really needed one of these bad boys. So now I always make sure that I have a couple in the case ready to go. For all those smooth motion shots walking around an epic B-roll that I simply cannot capture with my shaky hands, I took my stabilizer. This is a cheaper brand, Neewer, but it still works superb. If you haven't seen one of these before, check it out. It's a little bit fiddly to balance in the beginning, but once you get going and you start to get used to the ninja walking and everything that you need to do to operate it, you'll end up with some really smooth, steady footage. And of course, last but not least, a couple of cases to carry it all in. Now, there are lots of camera bag choices out there, and normally I'd probably prefer a custom-made backpack, but seeing as I had to put the cases in a top box on my bike, I decided to go with the small JVC case for the camera and all the little accessories, and my Neewer stabilizer case for the motion stabilizer, and Miranda, my small tripod. I think my main changes for next time will mainly be equipment. Make sure I get myself a Videomic Pro so I can get some crisper audio, and also get hold of two GoPro Hero 4s so I can match up all their settings properly and not have such a ball ache with colour grading in post. I think I'd like to get a little bit better at my storytelling so that I can guide you guys through the day a little bit more, and to have a little bit more confidence to vlog in public. Overall, I think I did a pretty good job on my first travel video, but I'll let you guys be the judge of that. So please check out parts 1 through to 3 of my first travel video and leave some comments on there. Let me know how you think I did. Also, drop some comments on this video below and tell me what kind of gear you're using for your travel videos. Well, that's it guys. I've given you a little personal insight into the shooting of my first travel video and the equipment that I used to do it. If you enjoyed this video, please hit like and head over to my channel and hit subscribe. And if you want notifications, just hit that little bell. Thanks for watching guys, see you next time.